The morning the world tried to finish her, the land itself seemed to hold its breath, and the dust on the trail lay still as if it knew what had been done there, because she was not meant to survive what they left behind, not meant to feel the sun, warm her cheek again, or hear a horse snort in the quiet hours of dawn. Yet fate has a way of riding hard through places where cruelty thinks it has won, and it was on such a road, narrow and forgotten between cottonwoods turning gold, that Caleb Hart found her beaten, bloodied, and breathing so faintly that even the birds kept their distance, and Caleb, a man who had buried too many memories under long miles and longer silences, reined in when his horse balked and refused another step. Because even a good horse knows when death has lingered too close, and Caleb slid down, boots crunching on gravel, his shadow falling across a small still form in a grey dress torn and stained, her hair tangled with leaves, her knuckles scraped raw, her face bruised purple and yellow like a storm that had already passed. And he knelt without thinking, the way men do when their hearts decide before their minds can object. And he checked her breathing with a practiced hand learned, not from doctors, but from years of rough living where you either learned fast or you didn't learn at all. And when he felt the whisper of life so faint it frightened him, he shrugged off his coat and wrapped it around her, murmuring words he hadn't spoken aloud in years, promises he wasn't sure he could keep. Because the West teaches you not to swear to tomorrow, but he did anyway. Because something in her stillness reached inside him and pulled at an old ache, the ache of not saving someone once before. He lifted her carefully, feeling how light she was, how close to gone, and laid her across his saddle, steadying her head against his chest, as he mounted and turned toward his cabin by the river, riding harder than he had in years, the horse sensing urgency and stretching into a gallop that tore the silence open. And all the while Caleb talked to her, told her his name, told her she wasn't alone, told her she could rest, but not too much, because rest was a dangerous thing on the edge of death. And when he reached the cabin, a place built with his own hands after the world had taken too much from him, he carried her inside and set to work with the quiet competence of a man who had learned pain as a second language, cleaning wounds, setting a cracked rib as gently as possible, stitching a gash with steady fingers and a jaw clenched tight. Because anger kept threatening to break loose, anger at whoever had done this, anger at a world that kept finding new ways to be cruel. And when the fever came, as he knew it would, he stayed by her side through the night, changing cloths, coaxing water past her lips, speaking softly even when she couldn't hear. Because words matter even when ears can't catch them. And sometime near dawn she stirred, a small sound escaping her throat, and her eyes fluttered open just long enough to see a bearded stranger and a cabin lit by firelight, before fear surged and she tried to pull away. But Caleb soothed her, told her she was safe, told her no one would hurt her here, and though fear still lived in her eyes, exhaustion claimed her again, and she slept, and so began the slow, fragile thread of days in which she learned his name and he learned hers. Anna, a name spoken like it might break if said too loudly, and she told him in halting pieces what had happened, how she had trusted the wrong people, how kindness had been used as a lure, how fists and boots and laughter had followed, how they had taken what they wanted and left her in the dirt like refuse. And Caleb listened without interruption, his hands curled tight around a cup gone cold, because rage has its own temperature, and he promised her she would not be sent away, not until she could walk, not until she could breathe without pain, not until she chose to leave. And Anna watched him with cautious eyes, unused to promises that held weight, and healing came in inches, not miles. Each day a small victory, a step to the door, a breath without wincing, a laugh that surprised them both when it escaped her, thin but real. And Caleb found himself waiting for those sounds, measuring his days by the lift of her spirits. And when she finally stepped outside, leaning on his arm, the river glittered like it was welcoming her back, and the cottonwoods whispered overhead, and Anna cried then, not from pain, but from the simple miracle of standing in sunlight again. And Caleb held her while she did, awkward at first and then certain, Because some things feel right even when you don't understand why. And as weeks turned into months, a tenderness grew between them, unspoken but strong, built from shared mornings and quiet evenings, from the way he showed her how to mend a fence, and she showed him how to hum while cooking, from the way nightmares still took her. Some nights, and he would sit by the bed until her breathing slowed, from the way his own ghosts seemed to lose their grip in her presence. And love did not arrive like a thunderclap. It arrived like dawn, gradual and undeniable, until one day Anna realized she was smiling more than she flinched, and Caleb realized he was building a future instead of hiding from the past. And when the men who had hurt her came riding through the valley, loud and careless, bragging in a way evil often does, Caleb stood in the road with a rifle and a calm born of purpose, and Anna stood behind him, not trembling but steady, because survival changes you, and justice, when it came, was swift and final. And afterward the valley felt lighter, as if the land itself approved. And on a quiet evening, as the sun bled gold into the hills, Caleb asked Anna, not with grand words, but with honesty, if she wanted to stay, not out of fear, not out of debt, but out of choice. And Anna answered by taking his hand and placing it over her heart, where life beats strong and sure, because sometimes love is not found, it is earned, through patience and courage, and the refusal to look away when someone is broken. And if this story touched you, if you believe in second chances and quiet heroes and love that heals, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because more stories like this are waiting to be told, and your support helps keep them alive.